Hello everyone, today I am going to speak about metabolism. So let's get started. The learning objectives of today's session will be at the end of the session, you should be able to define biotransformation, describe first pass metabolism and its importance, describe phase 1 and phase 2 reactions, explain factors affecting biotransformation, and explain the clinical significance of enzyme induction and enzyme inhibition. Metabolism or biotransformation is defined as chemical alteration of a drug in the body. All substances that are ingested by a person are digested so that carbohydrates, proteins and fats can be utilized for the body. Similarly, when drugs are ingested, they are also chemically altered. But the purpose behind this alteration is to render or to transform the non-polar, that is liquid soluble substances into polar, that is liquid insoluble substances or water soluble substances. As we know that water along with its solvents is excreted from the kidney through urine. So water soluble substances are easily excreted and need not be metabolized, but water insoluble substances need to be excreted by making them water soluble. The primary site of drug metabolism or biotransformation is liver, but there are other parts like the digestive tract, kidney, lungs, and plasma where the chemical alteration of a drug can take place. During the process of alteration of a drug in the body, there might be inactivation of an active drug. That is, the drug is active, but when it is chemically transformed, it becomes inactive. The examples are lignocaine and ibuprofen, which are active, but when metabolized become inactive. An active drug can be converted into an active metabolite. That is, the drug that was active is chemically altered so that its metabolite is also active. For example, diazepam, which is an active drug, is converted into oxazepam, which is an active metabolite. Similarly, digitoxin is converted into digoxin. The third fate that a drug can have when it is biotransformed is an inactive drug, or it is commonly known as prodrug, is converted into an active metabolite which can now act on the body. For example, levodopa, which is inactive, is converted into dopamine. Similarly, enalapril to enalaprilat and prednisone to prednisolone. The process of chemical alteration of a drug in the body can be classified into two main categories, that is non-synthetic and synthetic. Non-synthetic is also known as functionalization reaction or phase 1 reaction, while synthetic are also known as conjugation reaction or phase 2 reactions. The non-synthetic reactions consist of oxidation, reduction and hydrolysis. Oxidation is defined as addition of an oxygen species or a negatively charged radical or removal of hydrogen or a positive charged radical. The examples of oxidation reaction are the oxidation of phenytoin, diazepam and ibuprofen. The most commonly involved enzyme for oxidation is cytochrome P450. Cytochrome P450 is a large family of enzymes which are isoforms of each other, among which cytochrome 3A4 and cytochrome P2D6 are the most common enzymes which are involved with biotransformation of drugs, of which cytochrome 3A4 carries out nearly 50% of biotransformation reaction, followed by cytochrome P2D6 which carries about 20% of biotransformation reactions. The reduction reaction, which is the second type of phase 1 reaction. It is the converse of oxidation, that is the uh, removal of oxygen or negatively charged radical or addition of hydrogen or positive charged radical is known as reduction, and it also involves cytochrome P450 enzymes, but the reaction is in opposite direction. The examples are reduction of chloramphenicol and halogen. Coming to the third reaction, that is hydrolysis. It is defined as cleavage of a drug by adding up of a water molecule. So the drugs which are chemically esters are hydrolyzed, wherein ester with the water molecule is transformed into acid plus alcohol. That is, OH group is added to one part of the ester and the H group is added to another part, wherein OH group where it is attached it becomes an alcohol, and H part where it attaches it becomes an acid. The examples are pethidine, propane and enalapril, which are hydrolyzed. Coming to the phase 2 or synthetic reactions, these are also known as non-functionalization or conjugation reactions. So conjugation is defined as a reaction in which the drug or its metabolite, that is the phase 1 metabolite, where the phase 1 reactions have already occurred, is attached with an endogenous substrate to form a polar or highly ionized organic acid, which is easily excreted in urine or bile. So this simply means that the lipid soluble substance is converted into water soluble substance so that it is easily excreted through urine or bile, and this is carried out about by adding up of an endogenous substrate. So that is why it is known as conjugation. So conjugation of a endogenous substrate to form a water soluble metabolite. The examples of phase 2 or synthetic reactions are glucuronide conjugation, acetylation, methylation, sulfate conjugation, glycine conjugation, glutathione conjugation, and ribonucleoside or nucleotide synthesis. So as you can see, glucuronide conjugation by itself means that glucuronide is conjugated with the drug. Similarly, acetyl group in acetylation and so on. The glucuronide conjugation is carried about by the UDP glucuronosyl transferases group of enzymes. UDP stands for uridyl diphosphate. So here the drug attaches with the UDP glucuronic acid, and with the help of enzyme the drug glucuronide is formed and the UDP is separated, and this drug glucuronide becomes water soluble and is excreted from the body. So glucuronidation increases the molecular weight of the drug, and it favors its excretion mainly through the bile. The examples of glucuronide conjugation reactions are morphine conjugation and chloramphenicol conjugation. The present slide shows the different types of conjugation reactions and which group of conjugate is added to the drug, which enzyme is involved, and examples of drugs which go through the respective conjugation reactions. Say for example, glucuronide conjugation is brought about by addition of glucuronide with the help of enzyme UGT, and the example of drug which is conjugated by glucuronide conjugation is morphine. Similarly, acetylation is brought about by addition of acetyl group to the drug with the help of enzyme acetyl coenzyme A, and drugs that are acetylated are sulfonamides and isoniazides. Methylation is brought about by addition of methyl group to a drug, where methyl transferase is the enzyme that is involved, and drugs like adrenaline and dopamine are methylated. Glutathione conjugation is brought about by addition of glutathione to the drug with the help of enzyme glutathione transferase. An example of drug is paracetamol. Amino acid conjugation is brought about by addition of amino acid, wherein the examples are glycine and benzoic acid. Sulfate conjugation occurs by addition of sulfate to a drug with the help of sulfate transferases, where examples like steroids, chloramphenicol and methyl dopa are sulfated. So different types of enzymes that are involved in biotransformation reactions are categorized into two main groups, that is microsomal enzymes and non-microsomal enzymes. The microsomal enzymes are situated in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum of a cell, mainly the liver, kidney, intestinal mucosa and lungs, where these enzymes are found. These enzymes catalyze oxidation, reduction and hydrolysis, that is the phase 1 reactions, and the glucuronide type of conjugation. The non-microsomal enzymes are situated in the cytoplasm and mitochondria of different tissues like hepatic cells and also plasma. The enzymes that are non-microsomal are esterases, amidases, oxidases and conjugases. These enzymes are involved in mostly conjugation reactions other than glucuronide conjugation and oxidation reaction. Both the microsomal as well as non-microsomal enzymes are deficient in the newborn, more so in newborns who are born before the completion of 9 months of pregnancy. So in such cases, they are very susceptible to many drugs which need to metabolize in the body and get excreted. So toxicity of such drugs might occur if they are administered such drugs, for example chloramphenicol and opioids. While the drugs are being metabolized by variety of enzymes in the body, at the same time the drugs themselves have effect on the process of metabolism. One thing that I would like to clear is that many enzymes may be involved in metabolism of a single drug. At the same time, many drugs might be metabolized by a single enzyme. So when one drug has an effect on an enzyme system, the effect is extended to the drugs which are metabolized by the same number of enzymes. Therefore, when a drug has effect on the enzyme systems, the concurrently given drugs might behave differently or their metabolism might be altered. For example, when the above mentioned drugs, that is erythromycin, ketoconazole and cimetidine, which are well known drugs to have inhibitory effect on the metabolism, when such drugs are given along with other drugs like warfarin, there is decrease in the metabolic pace of this drug and that can lead to toxicity of this drug. The other effect that this inhibition of drug metabolism can be seen is prolongation of action of drugs that are whose metabolism is inhibited. So in short, when drugs that inhibit metabolism are given with other drugs which are also influenced by the same metabolic process, can lead to toxicity or extension of duration of action of that drug. Contrary to enzyme induction, wherein the drug directly acts on the enzyme system so that there is immediate inhibition of metabolism, The microsomal enzyme induction is a process wherein the metabolic process is hastened by a drug. The microsomal enzyme induction occurs by increasing the synthesis of the proteins which are microsomal enzymes. So this occurs by interaction of these drugs with DNA, and then there is increase in the synthesis of these enzyme proteins, and these proteins are mainly cytochrome P450 enzymes and the UGT, that is UDP glucuronosyl transferases. When such enzyme induction occurs, the metabolic process of the drug itself is increased, and also the drugs which are also metabolized by the same enzyme system. The example is phenobarbital and rifampin. These drugs induce the microsomal enzyme so that their own metabolism is increased. Similarly, drugs that are given along with these drugs and that are also metabolized by the same enzyme, their metabolism is also increased. For example, the OC pills are metabolized faster when given along with phenobarbital or rifampin. So what are the consequences of microsomal enzyme induction? When an active drug is converted into an inactive metabolite and such metabolic process is induced by a drug, there will be more amount of inactivated metabolite, and the concentration of active drug will be reduced, so that the effect that should have been seen with the active drug is not seen. As an example that I have already discussed, that is use of phenobarbital along with OCPs. So phenobarbital, when it induces the metabolism, it also causes increase in the metabolic rate of oral contraceptives, so that there will be failure of contraception. The oral contraceptive pills are the hormonal contraceptives that are given in married women to prevent conception. When the metabolic process activates an inactive compound or inactive drug, that is a prodrug, and the same process is induced by another drug, there will be increased amount of active metabolite, and that can lead to toxicity of that active metabolite. Similarly, a drug also causes autoinduction, that is, its own metabolic process is hastened by increase in the production of the microsomal enzymes. Say for example, rifampin, when it is given repeatedly, its own metabolism is increased, so that more amount of rifampin or rifampicin is to be given to see the same effect, and this process is known as tolerance. The enzyme induction is also exploited in a few cases, like in congenital non-hemolytic jaundice. There is increased rupture of red blood cells, so that the metabolism of the hemoglobin in the form of bilirubin is increased. This bilirubin can cause jaundice, and the bilirubin is metabolized by glucuronide conjugation. So phenobarbital is one of the enzyme inducer which increases the amount of glucuronosyl transferases enzymes in the body, and when phenobarbital is given in congenital non-hemolytic jaundice, it hastens the clearance of jaundice by glucuronide conjugation of bilirubin at a faster rate. Coming to first-pass metabolism, the first-pass metabolism is a process by which the drug alteration of chemical structure of drug occurs before it enters into systemic circulation, so that it is available for its pharmacological action. So metabolism of a drug during its passage from the site of absorption into the systemic circulation. For example, when a drug is given orally, it has to first enter into the intestine, and then it gets absorbed through the portal circulation into the liver. In the liver, again, it is processed and then it comes towards the systemic circulation by hepatic vein. So in this process, there are number of enzymes that are present in intestinal tract, the plasma in the portal vein, as well as the enzymes into the hepatic cells. So all these enzymes, they metabolize the drug, and whatever remains goes into the systemic circulation. All orally administered drugs are exposed to drug metabolizing enzymes in intestinal wall and liver, where they first reach through the portal vein. So this process of first pass metabolism causes more amount of drug to be administered, so that the fraction that remains is goes to systemic circulation and shows their effect. So what is the importance of first pass metabolism? Oral dose is considerably higher than sublingual or parenteral dose. So as discussed earlier, the sublingual administration causes direct absorption of drug into the systemic circulation, as well as parenteral drug, wherein the drug is injected into muscles, veins, or subcutaneous tissues, also directly go into systemic circulation. But when a drug is given by oral route, the drug is exposed to the intestine and liver enzymes, so that less amount of drug is available for the systemic action. That is why higher dose of oral administration have to be given as compared to the parenteral or sublingual dose. Then there is marked individual variation in the oral dose due to differences in extent of first pass metabolism. Now, owing to the individual variation of the liver enzymes and intestinal enzymes, the first pass effect or first pass metabolism might vary from person to person, so that a person requires lesser amount of dose as compared to another person who might require a higher amount of dose for the same action. Then oral bioavailability is apparently increased in persons with severe liver disease. A person who suffers with a liver disease will have less competent hepatocytes, and that may lead to less amount of metabolism of the same drug, so that the active drug might remain for a longer time at a higher concentration in the body, leading to toxicity of such drug. So indirectly it means that the oral bioavailability that a healthy person has is less as compared to the person who has liver disease. Some drugs like steroids undergo enterohepatic circulation. So what is enterohepatic circulation? When the drugs which are conjugated in the liver and excreted through the bile, like steroids, for example, estrogen, progesterone, and corticosteroids, they undergo glucuronide conjugation in the liver and become water soluble and get excreted through the bile. But what happens when the bile is enters into the intestine? The other enzymes cause deconjugation reaction, so that the active form of drug is again free to enter into the portal vein through the intestine. And once it enters into the portal vein, it it is exposed to again the conjugation reaction, or it enters into the systemic circulation for action. So when it is again metabolized in the liver, it will again get conjugated in and excreted through bile into the intestine. So this process is known as enterohepatic circulation, and the importance of this process is that drugs that undergo enterohepatic circulation will act for a longer period of time. There are various factors that might affect the metabolic processes. For example, genetic variations. Some individuals have enzymes different from others. To explain this example, we will take the succinylcholine apnea as an example. Succinylcholine is a drug which is a skeletal muscle relaxant, and it is generally used to facilitate the insertion of endotracheal tube while the patient is being anesthetized. So succinylcholine is given, the patient is totally relaxed, all the muscles are paralyzed, and then the endotracheal tube is put into the mouth, and because the succinylcholine has a very short duration of action, the person regains his skeletal muscle power. So why succinylcholine is having such a short period of action? Because it is metabolized in the plasma itself when injected by IV route, and the enzyme that is responsible is pseudocholine esterase enzyme. But in few people, this enzyme is different and is known as atypical pseudocholine esterase, which very slowly converts succinylcholine into its inactive form. So one can imagine, if the rate of reaction is reduced, the drug will remain for a longer period of time. The same thing happens when the people who have these atypical pseudocholine esterases are given succinylcholine. So succinylcholine will not be metabolized at the rate that is meant to be, and the person will be paralyzed for hours together as compared to less than a minute in person who has a normal pseudocholine esterase. So such kind of genetic variations are seen with other drugs also, like in case of isoniazid also. There are fast metabolizer and slow metabolizer of isoniazid. So genetic variation plays an important role in metabolism of a drug. The environmental pollutants like cigarette smoke, alcohol and DDT also play an important part in the alteration of metabolic processes. Say for example, cigarette smoking induces the enzyme system cytochrome P450 and may lead to increase in the metabolic rate of drugs that are metabolized by these enzymes. Similarly, age plays an important role. As already discussed, newborn have very deficient uh, enzymes in the body, so that they will not tolerate drugs at the dose which are tolerated by healthy adults. Also, in elderly patients, the enzyme systems are not at par as compared to the healthy individuals, so that less amount of drug needs to be given in elderly people as compared to the healthy ones. Patients who have liver diseases also face the problem of metabolism of drugs, liver being the most important organ metabolizing the drug. When liver doesn't function well, the metabolism of drugs suffers. So in this way, there are different factors that affect the metabolism. So I have discussed regarding what is metabolism, what are the different phases of metabolism, what is enzyme induction, what is enzyme inhibition, what is enterohepatic circulation, what is post-pass metabolism. The take-home message that I would like to give is the metabolic process is meant to get rid of the drugs from the body. The second thing that I want you to remember is the process of metabolism is altered in different individuals, as well as different health status can lead to alteration of the metabolism, and that is the reason why the dosages of a drug need to be altered in different individuals. Thank you for your patient listening.